How many children do you have?
We have 5 children. We have 2 in college and 3 in high school.
Okay. And so, do they all go to public school?
The 3 that are in high school do go to a public high school.
Okay. And so, as of late, could you tell a little bit about your story?
Okay. Well, we had what we thought was a civil issue with our oldest. He was a senior in high school. During the summer between his junior and senior high school years, he decided that he was going to pack a backpack and go spend the night with a friend. We inquired who the friend was, and of course, it was a friend we didn't want him staying with, and we said, no, you're not going to go. It ended with the sheriff saying we had to let him go. We had to leave the house. And since we had objected to him spending the night with the friend, he decided to move in with the friend.
How old was he?
He was 17 and the friend was 15. Birthday that week, was turning 16.
So, at that point, was he a junior or senior in high school?
It was the summer in between the two.
Gotcha.
So when he moved in with his friend, we thought the parents are going to step in, they're going to say, no, you have to go home. That didn't happen. We thought we were just dealing with an issue that when school started it would kind of smooth out and we'd get past it. But what happened when I went in to register my 2 daughters for high school, while I was registering them, I asked the register person, I said, what do I do about my son? He's not here with me, but I know he's going to be attending school. What about his fees? I was offering to pay the fees. And she said, oh, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out.
So he was already living with
the
his
other friend.
Gotcha.
Yes. So then I thought, all right, well, the school's going to work with me. We're going to figure this out, and when it smooths out, I'll pay the fees and we'll move forward. I found out later, through rumors at the high school, through the students, that my daughters brought home and said, Mom, our brother went shopping with the school social worker across the street at Walmart. They bought him clothes, they bought him shoes, he's getting free lunch program at school now, and he might be getting social services elsewhere. Well, we were shocked. We didn't know this could even happen.
Was he on free and reduced lunch or anything?
Not before. No, not at all. Financially, we wouldn't qualify.
So your husband?
My husband is a physician.
And are you a stay-at-home mom?
I'm a graduate student right now, but I had been a stay-at-home mom and a homeschooler for a few years.
Okay.
And when we found this out, we thought, it has to be a mistake. Mm-hmm. We called the school immediately and asked for an appointment with the social worker and the school counselor, because with our older children, we were already familiar with the junior-senior school counselor. We thought she was kind of a friendly person to bring in as a mediator.
Yes.
We met with them, and of course, they had identified our son as homeless. But he had
the opportunity to come home at any time. You wanted him home?
We wanted him to come home. Yes.
So did he know you wanted him to come home?
Well, a teenager's perception of things. We're not even speaking at this time because the school did interject their opinion and reinforce that, yes, you should live with this other student. We're going to identify you homeless. We're going to reinforce it with material goods.
So did the school identify him homeless through the courts?
No.
Or just arbitrarily?
No, this was no adjudicated process at all, which is why we were so confused. There was no allegation that started this. There was no court process. It just happened one day that he was leaving, and we started this ball rolling. Find out that the school had decided on their own that any unaccompanied youth, since he was in the building while I was also registering his sisters, but I wasn't right there with him in the same room, he was considered an unaccompanied youth. That is a legal term, or I guess it's a mandated term, through a federal mandate that says any child or teen that comes into the high school counselor's office without a parent, even though he was there with this student that he lives with, no other adult, neither one of them were adults, they were unaccompanied youth. Therefore, that started them with the
But that wasn't by your choice.
No, we didn't even know it was happening.
So,
no one called us. No one walked down the hall to tell me, your son's in the office He's changing his entire senior schedule. He's dropping out of band. He's going to lose his band scholarship. What's going on? You've already told us that there's something happening. Would you like to come in the office and work this out? Nobody did that. No one reached out to us. No one notified us that this was a process that had already been started without our knowledge, without our consent, and we did not acquiesce any parental rights whatsoever. And then we find out that he was there at the same time I was, and they knew that, and they didn't bother to incorporate the parental influence
So
there.
what gives the school the authority to deem him homeless?
That was our first question to the school. What authority do they have? They handed us a paper with a name at the top we had never heard of. It's called the McKinney-Vento Act, and it is the homelessness curriculum that is mandated by the federal government, that they process brochures and posters. They are put in high trafficked areas in the high school area and in the middle school. Even though all my children are in high school, this is in all schools across our entire nation, that if you are an unaccompanied youth or this thought of being homeless, which is a very broad definition of homelessness, because it's not, when you and I think of homelessness, we're thinking someone who had a tragedy happen or a severe storm wiped out the entire town, like in Joplin, and you're thinking these poor kids have nowhere to live. That's not the definition they're using. Homelessness, if you go to the DESE website and listen to the state coordinator of homelessness, she will actually say that they don't care why these kids are leaving home. They just want to identify and serve.
So theoretically, if you had a philosophical difference,
Yes.
or he just didn't like the way that you were imposing his curfew,
Yes.
or trying to safeguard or protect him in any way
Yes.
that he deemed it to be maybe overly restrictive of his what he wants to do as
Right.
a 17-year-old,
Right.
that he can just leave home
Yes.
and the school can basically deem him homeless
Yes.
and help him get social services. I mean, does he have free and reduced lunch now at school?
He does. They say that this is how the McKinney-Vento thing works, that you have to be identified and served. You go into the program, into the numbers, the data system, even though he's not really using it, which I don't know if he is or not, other than on Parent Portal I see that there's no lunches put in. But we still have no knowledge of whether or not he's actually using the program, but I do know he has been identified and can use the program.
So can you go into the counselor or the school principal and find, is he going to class every day, or have you been cut off as his legal guardian?
Well, in the student information system, which we call Parent Portal, when I went in, I was shocked to find that in the parent information line, his friend's mother and stepdad had been put in as his new emergency contacts, and their information was there. We are now listed as an alternate parent. His grandparents on both sides, maternal, paternal, grandparents, have both been removed from the system completely from emergency contacts. And his two sisters that are still in school with him have been removed from his data under other siblings in the district.
So it's like his whole past has been erased.
It has. And I went to theirs as well, the sisters, and he has been removed from their data as a sibling as well.
So the school has basically facilitated
Yes.
in cutting off his family
Cutting
from
him,
being
yes.
a part of his life.
Yes.
They've really expedited any.
Yeah.
So they've not tried to create a union between
Right.
you and
Right.
your son.
Right.
But do you feel it's a fair statement to say that they've basically expedited or extinguished your relationship?
I would.
So they've not tried to help,
No.
sit you guys down at a table, or
No.
none of that?
None of that. It was, we went in to speak to them. We facilitated that action with them. And knowing that this is a professional, that this is a social worker, and this is a school counselor, when I look at this situation, when you have a 17-year-old that leaves a family that were known in this small community to be a decent family, I won't say perfect, there are no perfect families that I can
Right.
reference to. We all have times when the kids want to do something and we say no and they argue back.
Sure.
That's natural, normal teenage behavior. But when I go into a counselor's office and know that our son has completely disconnected from his biological family, that is a counselor's red flag. That is a clinical marker that they completely missed. Not only that, they facilitated making sure that they built up this other family communication. I don't know this other family well enough to know if he's in a good environment or not. I pray that they are taking good care of him. I don't see anything other than he's still coming to school, but that wouldn't have changed had he stayed home. He was in no way ever, he was never, is not now, and was not in danger of becoming homeless or missing school. My husband was a teacher before he went to medical school. Education is important in our family. I have a brother-in-law who is an educator. My dad is a retired career educator. Education is extremely important in our family. And for the school to come in and tell us that we have no say in his educational process now in his senior year, which is a milestone year for parents, and he's going to graduate in May, and we're not going to be allowed to be there.
So they won't allow you to be there.
If you have tickets for family, if there's inclement weather and it's moved inside, and you have tickets, I'm sure we won't be one that gets the ticket.
So, to this point, I mean, had you ever even heard of anything like this until you
Until
actually...
July 4th, 2014, I never realized that this was possible, and until July 25th, until it hit the newspapers that the school had received a discretionary grant of $25,000 from the McKinney-Vento Homelessness Act. I had never heard of this before.
So your school did receive a grant.
Yes, they received $25,000 from the federal government as a discretionary grant that they applied for, and it was granted them through DESE, the Department of Education, Secondary Education, for the state of Missouri. They were one of the 2-year grant recipients.
So, just to recap, there was no process, like no court process, no hearing, no evidence to suggest that he was in a home that was anything less
No,
than a normal home setting.
right.
Basically, he just went in and said, I don't want to live with my parents anymore, and the school took over from there.
Yes, they did.
So do you live in fear in some ways for your other children?
I do. I have 2 girls. They're teenage girls. I want them to have normal relationships with teenage boys,
Yes.
have a normal dating relationship, but they need their parents to guide them through that.
Absolutely. Do you feel the friend, can you say if the friend is a male or a female?
It is a female that he is living with.
Is that something as part of your value system that you see? Is that very difficult for you?
It is. It's very difficult. We've always taught all of our children abstinence is best until marriage, and that is a gift from God, only to be shared within the sacrament of marriage.
Yes.
Between one man, one woman, together, procreative, unitive, the power of marriage, the beauty of marriage, the beauty of sex. I am not a Puritan.
Yes.
It needs to be protected, but these teenagers today are so bombarded with so many things from the external environment. They really do need navigators. They need a captain on their ship to help them know what to do, where to go, what to face, what to understand, what to consider, what not to consider. There are so many.
What's the role as the parent?
As the parent.
So, I mean, if there is another option that's more fun or more free,
Yes.
then what the school has become
Yes.
is, I mean, they've become an escape hatch for
It's a
rebellious
carrot.
teenagers.
It's a carrot. Yeah.
So sorry.
Thank you. It's been very difficult.
I can't imagine, but you know what? Your story will educate so many other parents that
Yeah.
need to hear your story.
Yeah.
Because we need to know the things that are going on, and I'm so sorry.
Thank you.